questioning first?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. Special Agent Andersen, you first went to Smithfield Farms in Beaver County, Utah on July 26, 2017, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And your investigation indicated that up until July 4th of 2017, no one at Smithfield Farms was aware that they had had any kind of intrusion of any description.
Objection, Your Honor, he did not testify to that.
Why don't you ask him if that's his recollection?
Is it your recollection that as of July 4th, when a video was posted somewhere, no one at Smithfield Farms was aware of any prior intrusion?
I think they had indication prior to that.
Okay, what indication prior to that?
So it would be better to ask them because I wasn't part of that conversation, but I believe that they received a call from a reporter at some point before the video was actually released.
Okay, but it was contact from some reporter about some video that caused them to consider that they had been subject to an intrusion.
Right, and it was close to the time of July 4th. It was maybe a few days before.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay. And your assessment that there were two piglets who disappeared from the Smithfield Farms somehow, Smithfield Foods in Beaver County, is based upon a review of a video, correct?
Well, I don't believe they disappeared. I believe they were stolen, but the video was part of my review and my investigation, absolutely.
Okay, stolen would be a legal conclusion, correct?
Disappeared is not something that I believe occurred in this case, so I believe stolen is a better accurate term. I'm not an attorney, but disappeared seems to make it sound like they vanished.
And I don't mean disappeared as in they went poof like a magician made them go away. I mean disappeared as in they weren't on the farm anymore.
Okay.
Okay. With that understanding that they stopped being on the farm somehow and started being someplace else, that's based on your review of a video, correct?
In part.
And there's no, okay, and in your observation of video and social media, certainly video and social media and postings by influencers and so forth can be manipulated, correct?
Objection, Your Honor, to the word manipulation in the form of the question. Please, could you please give him more information what you mean?
Well, I'm asking him, he's the expert on video assessment, Your Honor.
I'm objecting to the use of the word manipulation.
Why don't you see if you can ask it in another way, counsel?
Things that are on the internet can be altered, changed, reconfigured electronically, made to appear what they are not, correct?
Certainly.
So you indicated that you had done some cellular telephone analysis regarding cellular numbers assigned to Paul Picklesheimer, a defendant in this case, correct?
That's correct.
So, first of all, the cellular analysis assumes Paul Picklesheimer is actually carrying a cell phone that's assigned to him, correct?
The analysis is done on a device,
Okay.
for a device.
The analysis assesses the presence of an electronic device, not of a human body.
That's correct.
And You found a cellular phone number that was registered to a Paul Picklesheimer or owned by a Paul Picklesheimer, correct?
Associated to him, yes.
Yes. And that cellular device ended up in Beaver, Utah in early March 2017, correct?
That's correct.
And your analysis of that cellular device is that that device never left Beaver, Utah.
Oh, I absolutely did leave Beaver, Utah.
Well, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that, that was a bad question. Never left Beaver, Utah to go toward the area of Smithfield Foods, correct?
The analysis can't determine if it, where it went between the hours that there was no activity on the device.
Okay, and what hours was there no activity on the device?
It was from 2:23 p.m., March 7th, until in the evening, March 8th, and I'm not sure of the exact time. It was evening hours.
Okay, so for a little over 24 hours, there was no activity on that cellular telephone.
That's correct.
So if Mr. Picklesheimer didn't call anyone or receive any calls, turned it off when he went to sleep that night, for example, there wouldn't be any activity on that phone.
I can't say that with certainty because phones still make transactional connections to cellular towers even if there's not a text or a phone call. So what I'm saying is the device had no activity, which would be rare even if they're not making calls or texts unless the device was turned off.
Okay.
It is feasible, but
So what we know for certainty is that we don't know, or what we know for certainty is that the last known location for the cell phone was Beaver, Utah, the city of Beaver, Utah.
before there was zero activity for over 24 hours, yes.
Okay, and then there's more activity in Beaver or someplace else?
Someplace else.
Okay, and where's that someplace else?
In and around Salt Lake Valley, Utah.
And one thing we know for certain is that that cellular phone wasn't pinging to any tower showing that the phone was near Milford, Utah or Smithfield Foods.
I think Beaver is near
Okay.
Milford.
But from the time the phone stops pinging until it's pinging again in Salt Lake, it stops pinging in Beaver, it starts pinging in Salt Lake, correct? Over 24 hours later.
So it was pinging in Salt Lake County for a short, then very shortly thereafter, it was hitting in Beaver County, and then not again until back in Salt Lake County the day after.
Okay. And it never pinged to the tower closer to Smithfield Foods.
Correct.
You presented your investigation in this case, you said, to 3 agencies to consider prosecution?
Yes, I think a better way to say that would be kind of a round table. The prosecutors were able to make a decision about what made sense.
I don't have any other questions, Sean.
Thank you. Mr. Hsiung.
Mr. Andersen, I don't think we formally introduced ourselves, but I think you know me. My name is Wayne Hsiung. I am one of the defendants in the case, representing myself, and I'll be asking a few follow-up questions. Do you prefer Mr. or Special Agent? Is there a preference?
Mr. Special Agent makes no difference to me.
Special Agent Andersen, it's fair to say the FBI generally doesn't take on thefts involving property less than $100, right?
No, we frequently work many types of frauds where the loss amount is lower than $100.
Yeah. So, for example, if a kid has a bicycle stolen, it's $100, and calls the FBI, they'll be able to convince FBI agents to handle the case?
I don't think in that case that there would be a federal violation.
Okay. But if there had been a federal violation, so for example, the kid had a bike stolen and was taken across state lines, would FBI agents get involved in a theft involving less than $100?
If it was a kid, it depends on the circumstances, but it wouldn't be something that we would normally look at.
Okay. Because the property value is so low, correct?
Property value is only one part of our predication process.
Sure, but that's one of the factors,
It
correct?
is one of the factors.
It is one of the factors. That generally property values are so low, wouldn't necessarily lead to an FBI investigation, correct?
Again, it would be the totality of the circumstance.
Understood. We can agree the estimated value of the pigs in this case is about $42.20, correct? According to the state's expert?
Is that, I don't know whether that's my place to say. I think that was testified to earlier, but that's not my area of expertise. I'd rather not comment on that.
Sure. But as lead investigator in this case for the FBI, that was your determination?
I don't determine that.
In this case, has seen quite a few FBI agents involved, correct?
What do you mean by seeing?
Well, you were the lead investigator, and I think you testified you corresponded with many other agents, including agents at the State Attorney General's office and at the Beaver County Sheriff's Office, correct?
I think what I testified to is that I worked with Beaver County agents and with attorneys from the AG's office. And if you're asking if I worked with an investigator, yes, I did work with an investigator from the Utah Attorney General's office as well. Do you want something more specific than that?
So the question was just, there have been multiple FBI agents involved in this case, correct?
Okay, so FBI agents, I was the only agent assigned to this case, worked it from start to finish. There were analysts that worked at a large portion of this case with me as well.
So there weren't other agents involved in executing search warrants, investigations?
Yes.
Prosecuting this crime?
Yes, there were.
There were, okay. And was this over 5? Was it over 5?
Over 5 agents
Over 5 agents, yeah.
that worked the investigation.
That were involved in this investigation.
Involved is different from and worked. We oftentimes recruit additional help when we have an operation, like you say, a search warrant. But as far as working the investigation, I was the only agent.
So is it fair to say there are at least 8 FBI agents involved in executing search warrants and participating in this investigation?
No, no, objection. He's given the agent a number of 8 and 5. He's already testified.
Well, I'm asking how many there were.
So, ask it again, but I think you're getting the same answer. I'll let you ask it again.
Were there at least 8 FBI agents involved in the investigation involving the crimes or alleged crimes in this case?
What do you mean by involved?
For example, participating in search warrants.
I'm trying to think. I don't know the answer to that. It may be around 8, maybe slightly more, maybe a little less. I'm not exactly sure.
Mr. Special Agent Andersen, with the court's permission, I'm going to ask you to review a couple documents that were provided to us in discovery. I think we're prepared, at least in part, by you. On my approach.
Please.
Okay, give you this one initially, and then when I pass my assistant. Oh, no, I have it. I have it. Just let me know when you've got a chance to look at it, especially Agent Andersen. You don't need you to necessarily read the entire document, just familiarize yourself with the document. So that-
I'm familiar with the first one, and the second document is less familiar to me, so I'm trying to, I want to, if I'm going to justify to it, I want to understand what it is.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll start with a document that has the date stamp 0229 at the bottom. You see that document?
Yes.
And can you tell me about this document?
This is an FD 302. It's just our investigative report that we use. It was a report that I made.
And if you look at the third paragraph, it starts, the personnel that assisted with this warrant are, can you agree that there were 4 FBI agents involved in the execution of the search warrant?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to refer to the document with the date stamp 0253, just the number on the bottom right. And I don't want to ask you about the entire document, but I'll just, again, ask you about the paragraph at the bottom. And it gets the personnel assisting with the execution of this warrant. And can we agree that there are 4 FBI special agents involved
Yes.
in this search warrant? So does this refresh your memory as to whether at least 8 agents were involved in this investigation?
It does?
And the answer is yes.
Yes.
Are you familiar with any other cases that you've been involved in or other FBI agents that are involved in where less than $100 of property led to 8 special agents to be involved?
Yes.
Please do tell.
We worked many frauds where the theft involved other violent acts, but what was charged was a fraud case. I mean, that's my best example, is just multiple identity theft cases, fraud cases, impersonation.
So fraud is different from theft. I'm not asking about the property. And the question was, please do tell me about a prosecution involving 8 FBI agents that had